Hey everybody, my name's Chris and I'm so excited to connect with you today in this session because I know the power of a small group of people and what God can do through them. In 2003, a small group met in my house for the very first time. We started with 6 adults and 2 cats. We counted anything that could breathe. And we really had no clue what we were doing. But one thing we did know is that we wanted to live out the teachings of Jesus. So that small group continued to meet and invest in each other, and we invited more and more people to come and join us. And eventually, we outgrew our house and we moved to the downtown YMCA. And after that, we outgrew that space and we moved to the Muncie Civic Theater. And that tiny small group has now grown to hundreds of people, and we've seen so many lives transformed in this process. We've seen marriages restored, families brought back together, people freed from addictions, and people finally finding their purpose in life. But it all started with a small group of people. And yet, you need to know that not all small groups are created equal. I mean, a group might have great snacks and amazing lessons and a gigantic flat screen TV with a booming surround sound system, but no one's life is ever being truly transformed. People don't feel seen, people don't feel known, people don't feel genuinely cared for. And outsiders, well, they're just kind of given a cold shoulder. But on the other hand, a small group that's done right, that can leave a mark in ways that you could never imagine, even for eternity, and it all starts with the right foundation. I mean, I don't know about you, but have you ever seen a house with a cracked foundation? Pretty soon the walls start to crack and the water seeps in, then mold begins to grow, and then the windows and doors don't work right, and before you know it, the whole house is out of alignment. And it's not even a safe house to be inside. But a house with a solid foundation will last for years and years and years, and all kinds of weather and erosion cannot take it away. The foundation really is the most important part of the house. You know, the same is true in a small group. Having a rock-solid foundation is the key to a small group that will not only last, but make an impact in this world. So what does a rock-solid small group look like? Well, the first characteristic that a rock-solid small group has is authenticity. Now, before anybody runs out of the room, we're not going to ask you to share all of the skeletons in your closet or your whole life story. It takes time to trust people and to be real with each other. But over time, as you begin to take off the mask and show the real you, that's when transformation begins to happen. I can remember a time in my own small group when it would have been easy to put on a mask and pretend everything was fine. It was during the COVID pandemic. Everyone in the church had different opinions about keeping church open or closing it, about whether or not to wear masks, and about how to keep everyone safe, and it got very intense, very intense. And people were leaving the church, they were mad, our church attendance kept getting lower and lower, and I wondered if we were going to make it as a church. It was taxing on me, and it started to make me question if this even mattered what I was doing. Because honestly, I wanted to quit. So I decided to put myself out there and share these feelings with my small group. I opened up to them, and instead of them judging me, they actually encouraged me. They reminded me about how I had made a difference in each one of their lives and their families. They told me not to give up. And I felt in that moment that they were for me and I wasn't alone. When you are authentic with each other, you start to see that you're not the only one who has issues. We all struggle in different ways, and it's so encouraging to know you're never alone. One of the most powerful things that you can experience is to allow others to see the real you, and then to watch them love you as is, just as you are. And when we share our weaknesses, we can talk about the truth of the Bible and how it can apply to our situation. We can grow in our relationship with God. We can share our experiences and learn from each other. And that's how real transformation happens. So, what are you going to do? Because the truth is, the choice is yours. You can have a fun, pretend small group where everyone acts like they like each other and have it all together, and we put on masks and we never really go very deep. Or you can take a risk, take off your mask, and watch transformation happen as you show the real you. Now, what I want you to do right now is to sit back and to hear the story of some friends of mine, Dylan and Amber. Dylan and Amber were having some big struggles in their relationship, but after joining a small group, they had the courage to take off their mask and be open about what they were going through. And as they did that, slowly but surely, transformation took place. So check out their story.
I'm Amber, and this is my husband, Dylan Meadows. And we ended up at the jar, I think, 3 years ago. It took me forever to get him to come to church, but I kept praying and praying and praying. Finally, he decided to come with me, and we've been coming ever since. We were invited to go to Caleb's small group. Initially going into this small group, honestly, the stuff that Dylan and I were going through, I just thought that we were completely alone. We didn't have a lot of young married couples to really look up to know how our marriage was supposed to act. And when you see on social media all the marriages that look perfect, that's what I thought ours was supposed to look like. And then when we started this small group and opening up to the couples that were in it, we quickly found out that we are not alone, that everybody goes through difficulties. I thought that we were doomed. I'm like, we're not meant to be together because of what we're going through, but no, it's normal. We did a study in our small group. It was called Marriage in the Light of Eternity. And at first I didn't quite understand what that meant, but when we started watching the videos and reading and talking about the questions, it taught us on how to prosper a marriage and how to make sure that during our whole life and our whole marriage that we both would end up in eternity together. And we learned how to also get people to go to eternity with us and how we should portray our marriage so people will look at us and know that we follow Jesus and want to do the same thing. So that was one of my favorite studies because it was really eye-opening and it really touched on the spiritual side and marriage side also.
We did a study about unlocking and unchaining your mind, and it was interesting because it made you think from a different perspective of things. So a lot of times I would try to look at things from the perspective of Amber instead of looking at them from my shoes. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but it was about being mentally tougher and how God works with your life at that point. You can always learn, read by yourself, and it's fine, but there's times you're going to read and not understand it, and there's many things in the Bible that can be interpreted 50 different ways, and we've read them, and everybody in the group's had a different perspective on it. And not saying yours is wrong, theirs is right, but it's just nice hearing the different perspectives on life, the Bible, everything.
I would say that a small group, to me, it's more like a life group, like people that you choose to have relationships with, people that you choose to open up your life to. And it's just a group of people that I didn't really know at first, but now I've grown close with them and can call them my friends. And I know that at any time if I need something, I can lean on them to help me through it. I'm not really good at talking to people or making friends, but opening up to the people in my small group, I have built relationships with them. And so every single person in that group I consider a friend that I could go to for anything if I needed it. The group that we're in, I can trust them with anything that I say to them. I know if Dylan and I are going through anything that we can talk to them and they will lean us into how to solve our problems and how God would want us to.
And there's no judgment. It's just a place you can be free and, talks amongst friends and people that's there to support you. I'd say it's a meeting of like minds with like goals that's just going to help you through life. And it's also refreshing because you find out you're not the only people going through things.
Yes, we do have a lot of fun, even though there's some serious conversations. We like to laugh, we play games. Every once in a while, we get pretty competitive with the games. So Jamie and Caleb cook the main meals and then we all bring a side, and a dessert is something that you have to bring. Because I love dessert, and it's nice to know that other people have to have a dessert after dinner. So that's really nice. It's usually the only time in the week that I do get a dessert after dinner because he doesn't. It's not his favorite thing. But I know when I go there, I'll be getting a dessert after dinner. I feel like my life has actually changed a lot. It's changed our marriage. We've learned a lot of things on how to cope with arguments that we have, how to respect each other more. We do weekly devotionals that we read, and it really has changed our marriage for the better.
I've definitely seen change. When we argue, they're not nearly what they used to be. We've learned with coping mechanisms. If I ever need advice, I have people I can lean on because they've most likely gone through the same thing or have a different understanding. It's just nice having those guys that I can fall back on when I need advice. And sometimes my wife doesn't understand where I'm coming from, so it's nice to have other people with a like mind that can help me out. And it's just nice knowing that you have a bigger team rooting for you and your wife to just do great. So it's really nice knowing that.
So I have seen a lot of change in Dylan's life. In the beginning, he went from not wanting to go to church to, me praying and praying and praying for him, to where now, I walked in on him the other day just reading his Bible. I've seen him grow into a more godly man. He has been more of a leader in our marriage, and we have been learning a lot of different ways to get through difficult times, and I've definitely seen a change in him and how he deals with stress and how he treats me. And we have really made it a priority to read our Bibles every day, to learn about God. I have been trying to make it a priority to pray every day, pray for Dylan, pray for the people in my small group in the church, and it has really changed our lives.
It just seems every week we just take another step, just keep going, and I definitely don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
If I had never joined a small group, I feel like I would still be in the mindset that Dylan and I, something was wrong with our marriage. I don't think that we would necessarily be as close with God as we are now, just because we've learned how to introduce God into our marriage to make it work. And so I do think I would be at a different place. I don't think I would be as content in our marriage and as understanding of what we're going through.
If I had never joined a small group, I definitely probably wouldn't be here. I don't know if I'd have stuck with it because it's kind of pushed me to go a certain direction and show me the correct way and everything. It's kind of helped keep the fire burning.
And I'm really blessed that we found our small group.